Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat Shalom.
which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. If we are not really paying attention to the things that are going on, because plenty of distractions are being offered to us by way of the television to keep us entertained, while a lot of changes are being made here in the earth, and a lot of things are being put in motion for the ultimate trial that the children of Israel are going to have to go through. Everybody is getting ready, except us. We're still partying and having a good time. Meanwhile, the motions of pre-war is happening. All of the countries are getting all of their things ready. This country is getting all of their propaganda ready. Anytime before they make major moves, they need to have a certain propaganda put out there so that the people are in agreement with the things that are about to happen before they could go to Iraq. They had to make the people believe that there was some kind of weapons of mass destruction. They needed to make the people believe in the exercise that they were about to do. And even though nothing was found, the people agreed with it long enough for them to achieve their objective, which was to get that oil pipeline rebuilt and back online. That was their objective, and they achieved their objective. When you get down to the war that America didn't do so good in Vietnam, the only reason the pullout happened was because of public outcry. So the propaganda machine is very important. Even though these people have all this power and they can command all of these troops, if they don't have the public support over it, then the mission fails from within. So this propaganda machine and the things that have been put forth for us, it is very powerful. It has a specific agenda. When the move was to go and exterminate all the Black Panther Party, they made them look like the worst criminals that they could possibly make anybody look to be. Meanwhile, we know of all of the atrocities that the Ku Klux Klan have committed, and even to this day, they are not looked at as this terroristic group that they truly are and always have been. So the propaganda is definitely against us, but then again, Yahweh did say that we would be punished 7 times more for our sins because these things were given unto us. We were held to a higher standard. Brother, would you read the oracles and entreat the angel that stands at the door to come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may make this a holy convocation by the angel's presence?
1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear, than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him.
Understand that this angel has been among us even before we knew who Yahweh was. For Yahweh has always had protection over us. There were certain things that we were supposed to be completely consumed in, and we were not. And it was that angel leading us in the way. But as we get more and more involved in this word, then there's less and less that angel should have to continue to do for us, because as a child, there's more protection that a child needs because of the lack of understanding. But as we grow in understanding, there's certain things that Yahweh expects of us. So there were certain things that you look back in your life and you say, man, I really should have went to prison for that right there. I really should have got in trouble right there. That angel was leading you. It was the angel why you didn't get but 1 year and you should have got 10. It was the angel that caused that gun to jam so you didn't kill them people behind that door. Oh, no, that was me, not y'all. Oh, go ahead. My bad. I got caught up right there. Go ahead.
Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 43. And I want you to start off and read verse 1. Leo, did you make another copy of this? Because he doesn't have one. You know what? You can't because he got the computer. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 1. But now thus saith Yahweh, that created you, O Yaakov, and he that formed you, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine.
I have called you by your name. You are mine. What the name that Yahweh gave us was Israel. We're not called Yahwehites. We're called Israelites. This is the holy name of Yahweh's firstborn son. And he says these things as we go from place to place reading in this book. There's a reason why we're called Israelites. When you get right down to what the war and the turmoil is all about, is the adversary, the devil, wants to defile Yahweh's holy name, which is included in Israel when we get right down to it, because the Father and the Son are one, and he wants to completely distort that. Hold your place right there, and let's flip over to Isaiah chapter 45 and read verse 4.
Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 4. For Yaakov my servant's sake, and Yisrael mine elect, I have even called you by your name. I have surnamed you, though you have not known me.
Though you have not known me. So it's one of those things that a lot of times we think that Yahweh starts dealing with us at the point of when we get our baptism. Yahweh been dealing with you long before you even know who he was, long before you even thought about getting a baptism. There are people that might not be able to get their baptism until we're getting ready to enter into that land, because they're scattered here and there and in various places. Doesn't mean that Yahweh is not dealing with them. There's certain things about my life that didn't make sense until I got in this word, and it made me understand that Yahweh was always there. You know, you have these people that say, you know, I found God. You know, he wasn't ever lost. You was. You ain't find him. So this is this whole mindset thing that we have to get away from, believing that we have found him. Jump back to Isaiah 44 and read verses 1 through 5.
Yet now hear, O Yaakov my servant, and Yisrael, whom I have chosen. Thus saith Yahweh that made you, and formed you from the womb, which will help you. Fear not, O Yaakov my servant, and you, Yeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I'll pour my spirit upon your seed, and my blessing upon your offspring.
You have to understand what makes the nations so angry and jealous of you. It is because Yahweh has chosen you. So the indignation of the entire earth is against you. It's like having that one child who gets certain things, and you have other children that have some kind of jealousy about the gifts that this one child has. This is what the nations, you know, have against Israel. Because Yahweh has said, okay, you're going to be my representatives here on the earth. I need you to represent me. And if you're going to represent me, then you have to understand my walk. You have to understand my plight. And understanding Yahweh's plight, there's certain things that you're going to have to go through. Here it is. Yahweh creates, you know, these angels. He creates these things, and then here it is. He has this entity who is supposed to be the biggest help of all, the adversary, the devil, who then turns on him. And not only does he turn on him, he wants to be him. So without understanding a little bit about betrayal, you really can't understand the plight of Yahweh. If you ain't never been betrayed, you can't really understand this walk. And it is this thing that we're trying not to deal with, but there's a little bit of betrayal that Yahweh assigned for you. You got assigned betrayal. Because otherwise you really don't understand what's going on here. You can't understand. How can you be a servant of Yahweh and not understand what he is going through? Imagine you starting a company and you're getting ready to back so that you can work on another company or another aspect of the company, and you need somebody else to cover what you have created thus far. Well, they got to feel what it is you feel. Otherwise, they're not going to run the company in the same direction that you were going to run it. That person has to have the same mindset. So Yahweh has to allow things to happen to us so that we will have the same mindset that he has. And without walking in his culture, you can't possibly have the same mindset that he has. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 4. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am Yahweh.
Now, we already read where he said, I surnamed you. I gave you this name. Now he's saying that you're going to do it. So understanding that when the children of Israel were prophesied to be scattered to the four corners of the globe, this lets us know that we were going to lose our names. The names that we have now, those are the names of the slave masters that own us. And you have people, we are so proud about these little slave names. We'll fight people about these slave names. And if you go enough places, you're going to run into a Gentile who got the same last name as you. And then look at them in their eyes, and you'll see that strange look. Because they know how you got that last name. That's because their family own you. They own your family. So people walking around with big pride in the ownership name. fighting each other. We the Johnsons. Right. You the white Johnsons or the black Johnsons? Which Johnson y'all are? Right. Go ahead.
And another shall call himself by the name of Yaakov. And another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel.
So, letting us know that in these times, we're going to have to go back to surnaming ourselves by the name of Israel, which we were already named. But complete conquering means not only conquering the body, it means conquering the mind. And if we would then be called by the names of our oppressors, that would then, of course, force us to want to be like our oppressors. Because we all know many people who look like us on the outside, but on the inside, we know they just as white as hell. They're aiming to try to be as much of their oppressor as possible. They want to take on the oppressor's ways because they really want to still please their oppressor. And part of that is taking on their name, their image, their likeness, all of these things. So this is a big part of being ruled over. Let's go to Exodus chapter 4. And we have to understand also that the adversary, the devil, knows this entire story. He knows. So when we're going against this entity, we're going against him in knowledge and understanding. He knows all of this. He knows where Israel is supposed to stand. So he knows what ways to try to get you off balance, to get you in trouble with Yahweh. Exodus chapter 4, and let's read verses 22 and 23.
Verse 22. And you shall say unto Pharaoh, thus said Yahweh, Israel is my son.
Israel is my son. Go ahead.
Even my firstborn.
Even my firstborn. Israel is my son. So we're dealing with a whole nother thing here when we consider what's going on, that we are set here in representation. Remember in the beginning, it says, let us make man, not let me. Let us make man. Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So you have to think about who it is you're representing when we are called by the name of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 23. And I say unto you, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if you refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay your son, even your firstborn.
So now he's going from son to son. And that's part of the things that we kind of overlook when we deal with the plagues of Pharaoh and of Egypt. We kind of miss that part that you're dealing with, that Yahweh takes this thing real personal and he goes from son to son. All right, that's my firstborn. So if you don't let my boy go, I'm going to kill your firstborn. They didn't really expound upon that part when they show it in the movies. See, there's certain parts that they need to kind of do away with. You know, they didn't go into the point where Moshe stuck his hand into the bosom and brought it back out and it was white. And then he stuck it back in and he came back and all they said was, you know, it was as his other flesh. What was his other flesh? Black. Charlton Heston didn't do that part. See, because it was going to be hard to try to explain how the white hand turned white and then it wasn't right and then it white and then it white again. Wait a minute. So it was white and then it was not white, but then it was whiter and then it, come on now. It got very difficult to do that. So they left that part out. See, there's certain things that are left out of this for a reason. But if you're not going through these things or having somebody point certain things out to you, you'll think that their portrayal of this is accurate. And their portrayal of it is not accurate. It is not accurate because the guilty is being protected. Let's go back to Isaiah 43. Isaiah 43. And we're going to start back at verse 2.
Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 2. When you pass through the waters, I'll be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burnt, neither shall the flame kindle upon you.
Now, it did not say if you walk through the fire. It did not say if you go through the rivers. It said when you walk through the fire, you should not be burned. See, we have this water baptism, and then we have this baptism by fire, where we have to be formed into the spiritual weapons of Yahweh's warfare. The weapons of our warfare is not carnal. So while the nations are, and all you got to do is show up at one of these gun shows, and you can see how these people are preparing. They're buying truckloads of ammunition. I keep telling people that little ammunition that we got, that's just going to protect your bread. You ain't got enough stuff to go against these people. These people buying some stuff that go around corners. They got infrared beams and night vision goggles. They got assault rifles. And here it is. We got this little stuff. Yahweh gave us a order. He said, if you go against the enemy that oppresses you in your land, here's the problem. This ain't our land. This ain't even their land. They stole it from somebody else. So what we have to do is preserve our own families. But as far as trying to overtake something and get reparations, you don't get reparations while you're in punishment. He didn't tell them, borrow of your neighbors, the Egyptians. He said that on the way out. You don't get that here. Why would you get that here? What kind of punishment is that? Imagine if you was in prison and they said, all right, well, we're going to award you for, the stuff that you've been through. So here go all this money. Okay, but you still in prison. So how that money going to help you? What you going to buy in prison? You going to get back to the warden. That's what you going to do. So it wouldn't do him any good to give you anything here. Go ahead, brother.
Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 3. For I am Yahweh your Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and sea before you. Since you was precious in my sight, you have been honorable, and I have loved you. Therefore will I give men for you and people for your life.
People have been sacrificed for you to be able to be here. You have to consider our forefathers and the things that they went through. Having dogs sicked on them, having water holes turned on them. We look at some of those things and we don't really examine how demoralizing those things are. Do you understand the power of a fire hose? I mean, this thing can take your arm or leg completely out of joint when it hits you. You have our people who grew up completely afraid of dogs because these people used to sick them dogs on us. There's a story that just came out of, I think it was St. Louis, where a off-duty police officer got shot by another police officer because he went to help, and the first group of police pulled guns on him, and he identified himself as a police officer, and then they left him alone and said, all right, yeah, come on and help us. Then another group of police officers showed up and automatically shot him in the arm. It's like if you black, they got a free call to shoot you. Now here it is, he being helpful. And helpful get you shot in America. See, this is one of the things. But like it is written, it will come a time that he that kills you will believe that he does Elohim a service. This not happening. None of this stuff that's written is happening to the Ish. It's happening to you. None of this stuff is happening. How many times you turn on the news and see some Ish get shot down in the middle of the street? We can see some Ish pulled over and they slam them up against the car. knocked off their little baby yarmulke or something. When you seen that? You don't see that? This book ain't got nothing to do with them. Ain't none of this stuff happening to them. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Fear not, for I am with you. I'll bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far and my daughters from the ends of the earth.
Right, but yet they have all of the people that are in Israel came from one place, Germany, to be set up in that land, and that does not go according to anything that is written in here. When you even look at the things that I looked at part of what Brother Benea had sent me about the slave trade in Brazil, and it was more of our people sent there than sent here. And when you deal with the fact that our people have been spread across the globe with this slave trade, it was the Ish owned many slaves. And everywhere we go, and it was funny, I was talking to Brother Absalom, and he was saying he ended up watching the Tupac movie and watching some other things, and he said, man, you know what? I did start to see every time one of our musicians have a problem, there's an Ish standing right by him who's taking their money, telling them, they telling Tupac not to put out Brenda Got a Baby. They saying, oh, it's too sad. It's too this. In other words, they telling, we got the Ish telling us how to be black. Why you think they bought BET? So they can tell you how to be black. And they've been doing it. Soon as we got ready to do the civil rights movement, they standing right beside us. Oh, I wouldn't do that if I was you. Well, you ain't me. Step out the way, man. See, I'm gonna give you a little money so I can influence this movement. And the same thing been happening forever. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 7. Even everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him. Yes, I have made him. Bring forth the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears. Let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this, and show us former things? Let them bring forth their witnesses, that they may be justified, or let them hear and say, it is truth. You are my witnesses, says Yahweh, and my servant whom I have chosen, that you may know and believe me, and understand that I am he. Before me was no Elohim formed, neither shall there be after me.
You are Yahweh's witnesses. So we see what the nations are trying to do. They are trying to exterminate his witnesses because they are being led by the adversary, the devil. Go ahead.
I, even I, am Yahweh, and beside me there is no Savior. I have declared and have saved, and I have showed, when there was no strange God among you. Therefore you are my witnesses, says Yahweh, that I am Elohim.
Now you have these old covenant brothers who will say right here, and beside me there is no Savior. You have to understand what Yahweh is dealing with. The children of Israel begin to start worshiping other gods, and they started to take on the ways of other nations and try to make those little false idol gods that they got from the other nations equal unto Yahweh. But people will take that and say, well, there's no Messiah because of that. Yet we go in the Torah and we see that Moshe is speaking of a Messiah even from the beginning. That's why they automatically expected the Messiah to, this is why they asked him, have you come at this time to restore the kingdom unto Israel? That's why they asked that question. They was always looking for a Messiah. So who are these so-called old covenant people who are telling you that there's no Messiah and they're not looking for one? I don't know what book they read. Because if you're reading that old covenant, the Messiah is all up in that. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 13. Yes, before the day was, I am he, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. I'll work, and who shall let it? Thus saith Yahweh, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. For your sake have I sent to Babylon, and have brought down all their nobles, and the Chaldeans, whose cry is in the ships. I am Yahweh,
Listen,
your Holy One, the Creator of Israel.
the Creator of Israel, comma, your King. See, you have to ask yourself, why is that written in Psalms where it says, oh, thy God, even your God has anointed you. See, we're not dealing with this thing in the correct way that it is presented. See, you have Yahweh the Father, Israel the Son. He says, I am the creator of Israel, your king. He likened, when he talked to Pharaoh, he said, Israel is my son, my firstborn. He wasn't even dealing with Israel as a whole nation. He was dealing with Israel as his son. Look here, I gave them the name of my boy. Now you let them go. So Yahweh will allow certain things to come upon us that's going to make us better servants. But at the point that that trial is over, Yahweh is going to deal with everybody that put their hands on you. That's why when it comes time for vengeance, that's Yahweh's job, not ours. Did you finish that, brother?
Yes.
Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12.
$12.38.
Second Corinthians chapter 12, and let's read verses 1 through 10.
It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to glory. I'll come to visions and revelations of the Adonai. I knew a man in the Mashiach above 14 years ago. Whether in the body, I cannot tell, or whether out of the body, I cannot tell. Elohim knows. Such a one caught up to the third heaven.
Now understand who Saul was. He was a man who was called after the fact. He didn't walk with Yahshua while Yahshua walked alive here on the earth. Do understand that he persecuted the saints during that time, even to the point that when he was called, people didn't believe that he was really called. They were afraid of Saul because he had authority to come and lock them up, throw them in jail, allow them to be persecuted, all because they were following the Mashiach. So he wasn't one of those who was there in the beginning. Go ahead.
And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell. Elohim knows. How that he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which it is not lawful for a man to utter. Of such an one will I glory. Yet of myself I will not glory, but in mine infirmities.
Now, if he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which is not lawful for a man to utter, how we having people talking about, I died and I went to heaven and I saw Jesus and his eyes was blue as the water? Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. How we have a whole book of Enoch that's got all these angels' names and all these things? Wait a minute. He said, wait a minute, man, this stuff right here, we ain't supposed to be talking about. Remember, there's certain parts that were given to Daniel. And Daniel said, all right, I'm going to write this down. He said, no, don't write that down, Daniel. No, don't worry about that. Don't write that down. That ain't none of their business. I'm just telling you that. Now, you write down the rest of this stuff, but don't write this down right here. See, Yahweh, you in a need-to-know basis with Yahweh. See? But we so nosy, we want to know everything. See? But there's certain things that will cause you some issues. You don't need to know it, so that you will give 100% of your effort, and then Yahweh will reveal what it is after the fact. That way, your effort wasn't tainted with the knowledge of knowing, well, this thing gonna get knocked down anyway. Imagine if people really thought, man, the temple gonna get knocked down. You know how Jake would have dealt with that? Go ahead.
Verse 6. For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he sees me to be, or that he hears of me. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure.
So now we have this one brother who has caused all of these issues to the saints. Then Yahweh calls him into the word, gives him all of these revelations. He's able to do all of these things. But then to bring him down and make him have a level head, he give him a thorn in the flesh. And then Yahweh won't take the thorn that's in the flesh away. Now, he can heal all these other people, but he can't get this thorn out of his own flesh. See, Yahweh has a way of making the balance right. Go ahead.
Verse 8. For this thing I besought the Adonai 3 times, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.
My strength is made perfect in weakness. This gives us the point to truly seek Yahweh, our Elohim. Only when we hit that bottom part where we, a lot of us, because we still got that hidden pride where we ain't really going to go and talk to Yahweh. We're really not going to make real confession. We're really not going to fully open up our heart until we hit rock bottom. And the closer we get to truly opening up to Yahweh and making true confession, the less we have to go through that trial. But that pride won't let us do it. Go ahead.
Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in mine infirmities, that the power of the Mashiach may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distress for the Mashiach's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong.
For when I am weak, then I get the true help of Yahweh, my Elohim. But I don't get that help until it is truly needed. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10.
First Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea.
Listen to this. All our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. Go ahead.
And were all baptized unto Moshe in the cloud and in the sea.
So, walking through that, and y'all have heard me say this when we get ready to baptize people, how our people were baptized in the wilderness. Yet, we got them little purple kung fu people that's out there on the corner telling people that all you do is read the word and you baptize. Man, they getting people killed, man. Telling people that ain't no such thing as baptism. Yet, he says in here clearly, they walked through this wall of water, not understanding. Coming out of Egypt, the place of complete sin, he is then cleansing them coming out of it. Though they came through dry. Yahweh is on a whole nother level, but what man does is man limits Yahweh by our own fleshly understanding. Yahweh is not limited to what you understand. That's not how that works. You don't get to limit Yahweh. That's why he says, don't make any images of me. Don't make any animals, any of those things, because you're trying to put the power of Yahweh into something so you can pigeonhole it and say, all right, this is what it is right here. But once you pigeonhole it, that means this is all it can be. It can't be this. It can't be that. It can't be that. So you pigeonhole, and we don't understand just how disrespectful it is. God is love. Sound real nice, don't it? But what you just did was just pigeonhole it and make this. Yet he says, I feel anger, aggression, jealousy. He says, I'm a jealous Elohim. So what then? Just love then won't cover it then. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was the Mashiach. But with many of them Elohim was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted.
So how were they even dealing with the Mashiach in the wilderness? You have Yahshua in the flesh, but who was the spiritual entity that was entered into Yahshua? Israel. That is who we were named after. Yahweh didn't say, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased, until he got the baptism. Once he got the baptism, the spirit that descended in the bodily shape of a dove and rested upon him was Israel, the son that he told Pharaoh to let go. He didn't get baptized until he was 30 years old. So for 30 years, Yahweh didn't say, this is my son. When he got baptized, then he said, this is my son. The spirit of Israel that descended and went into that body. So now you're dealing with Israel, his son, who is orchestrating these things. Understand, Yahweh is the CEO. The CEO don't do nothing. The CEO of General Motors ain't put one tie on. Understand that. He don't come on the assembly line and start checking lug nuts. No, he got people to do that. So you ain't gonna find Yahweh out doing that. No. That's what he got servants for. And he don't need to come here. That's what he got you for. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Neither be you idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000.
Yet we got televangelists who told people you can sleep with everybody that come into church. You still gonna go to heaven. You just gonna lose some things on earth. See, that's how you get a $63 million plane right there. Telling everybody that they can sleep with everybody in here. I find out you're sleeping with everybody in here, I'm gonna throw your whole stuff out of here. You can believe that. And set your kufi or your head wrap on fire out the way on the door. Get your little read, man.
Neither let us tempt the Mashiach, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur you, as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happened unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come.
They are for our example. So Yahweh has allowed certain things to happen so that you will have an example. Understand, our forefathers didn't have examples of these things. They had to live through this stuff. We have examples. So then much more is going to be required of us because we have examples. Go ahead.
Wherefore let him that thinks he standeth take heed lest he fall. There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But Elohim is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it.
He will make a way that you are able to escape this temptation. So there are certain things that to grow in strength, a little bit heavier weight have to be put on you. What we want is to constantly be in that place of convenience. Yet when you talk about somebody who's even physically working out their own body, they can't keep lifting the same weight. At some point, they got to increase the weight. So if Yahweh has this objective for his servants, he knows for a fact that we have this spiritual war coming up. He knows that we have an adversary who is a worthy adversary. And if we are being prepared to war against this entity, how you going to have you work out with the same weight? You just lifting 20 pounds for 20 years. Oh, yeah, you feeling good. Oh, boy, look at, why just throw this up in the air? Yeah, that's because it's 20 pounds, man. Increase the weight. Increase the weight, increase the strength. Being that our weapons are not carnal, they're spiritual, so more spiritual weight is laid upon us. That's your spiritual workout. What good is a servant who can't serve? I have to explain that to brothers, and I have to explain that to these sisters. Because understand, when we get ready to go out, all y'all see, because a lot of these organizations, they don't, let any of their sisters teach or do anything. Do understand, them Kung Fu brothers got wives. So them Kung Fu wives gonna be coming at y'all with fringes all over their ears and head wraps and everything else. They gonna be coming at y'all. And you're going to have to stand on this word. You can't keep running back to where the men, hey, what this say? No, you're going to have to deal with that Kung Fu princess there yourself. Go ahead, brother. You finish that up?
Yes.
All right, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4. First Peter chapter 4, and let's start that at verse 1.
For as much then as the Mashiach has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of Elohim.
And do understand now, the adversary understands all of these things, so he knows how to come at us with the lust of the flesh. This is what the whole trial immediately after the baptism was all about. Understand now, here it is, the adversary does not appear directly unto Yahshua until the baptism. So understand, he's sitting there watching the whole time. Soon as his baptism comes, here he comes. Won't you turn that stone into bread? Because he understands one thing. I've been dealing and making these fleshly people fall since the garden. I understand that you help make these fleshly people. I understand all that. But guess what? You made flesh, but you ain't never been in it. That's like a person reading about war, but the first time they hear that bullet whiz by their ears, hey, it's something altogether different. It's something altogether different playing Mortal Kombat and being in Mortal Kombat. See, a lot of people, they like to play them war games. Hey, man, this is fun. Yeah. Wait till a bullet go right by your ear. Let's see if it's still fun then. See? And see when you see the dude beside you step on the landmine. Let's see if it's still fun then. Go ahead.
Verse 3. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine.
Excess of wine. Not wine. See, people tell you, see, wine is wrong. No. Excess of wine. See, if you drinking to get drunk, then you got some problems already. See, when you're young, that's what you do. You just drink to get drunk. And then nobody tell you about that delay factor. See, I learned that the hard way, that delay factor. See, when you drink and pow, you drinking it down, you know, about drink 4, you be like, oh man, I'm feeling good. All right. Here's the problem. Drink 3 and 4 ain't got there yet. See, you feeling good. That's just drink 1 and 2. See, so you done felt good by 4, so now you putting the cup down. Uh-oh, too late now. Because see, now 3 about to kick in. Now here come 4. See that's excess of wine. See, you have to even learn how to consume. You got to learn that it takes time for that to even get in your system. Go ahead.
Revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries, wherein they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you.
Yeah, when you don't want to go to Freaknik no more, they got upset with you. Why you don't want to go out here? We all get naked. This is what we do. We get naked and we show our back parts. And people get mad when you don't want to go. Then they speak evil of you. They're enjoying that cup now. You know, she don't want to show her booty no more. We used to go out together. We was a family. We used to show our booty together. Right. Now they mad at you. Right. They're angry with you now. See? They angry with you because now you causing them to come up on a higher ground. And people don't just come up on higher ground easily. They fight it. They fight it all the way up. Go ahead.
1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 5. Who shall give account to him that is ready to judge the quick and the dead? For this cause was the gospel preached also to them that are dead, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, but live according to Elohim in the spirit. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins.
Right. We say we love one another, but when it comes down to it, we have to examine the type of love that we do have for one another. If you have love for your brother, then you do not suffer your brother to have this sin, as we talked about in Bible study. When it talked about they had to execute judgment, people thought that was all about this harsh reality of punishing everybody that did sin. What it was about is when sin was committed in the land, if that sin was not made atoned for, then that caused the land to sin, and that everything in that land is now having a problem because judgment was not done for that a particular sin, and it had to be the person that did it. But when the person who first do the sin and it causes the angel to step away from Israel, it's not that person who actually dies. Like we said before, when Achan stole the thing, it was 30-something other people that died. And that plague was not going to stop until the judgment was rendered upon him. Otherwise, other people are dying. This is what things that people don't understand about a household. One person brings some curse into the household, and then other people start going through hell in the house. Yeah. See, this is why I be telling people about having families, and they want to have, bigger families and all of this stuff, and add to the everything you add to that family is another door that the adversary can come through. And because you the big steel door in the front, but you got a little straw door downstairs, the devil say, well, just kick that straw door in. You don't need me kicking this big metal door up front. You got a straw door in the basement. Right. You're only as strong as that weakest point. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you.
Right. When we go through a trial, we are like dismayed. What I done wrong? Oh, woe is me. Oh, my life. Yet somebody died for your sin. Go ahead.
But rejoice, inasmuch as you are partakers of the Mashiach's suffering.
Rejoice. So just like the brother said, I rejoice in infirmities because I know that this trial is eventually going to make me stronger. And if we don't look at it like that, we're looking at every trial as a complete attack against us, not understanding that each one of those things is making you spiritually stronger. You show me somebody who ain't went through nothing, and I'm going to show you the weakest person in the room. But they have a peaceful life, so people think. And at the first sign of trouble, they're going to pass out and die. When the depression hit, it was rich white people jumping out of buildings. I can't live That's black people saying it's a depression. It's a depression. When it start? They like, hey, we've been broke the whole time. What was it? So the same thing that one person killing themselves for, the other people sitting up there talking about, I didn't even notice. So they done went through so much. This little bit wasn't about killing themselves. It was like, man, killing myself. Then you got people that had insurance policies. They was killing themselves so that the rest of the family could get that money, and they were doing that, thinking that, you know, that, hey, this is honor, you know, honor to die for the family. Now, but we're gonna start together. You know what I'm talking about? We're gonna start as a family. Let's everybody hold hands, and we're gonna listen to our stomach go. You know what I'm talking about? Cause I ain't killing myself. You can believe that, Jack. Go ahead, man.
That when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. Verse 14. If you be reproached for the name of the Mashiach, happy are you. For the spirit of glory and of the Elohim resteth upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters.
Consider that. You got murderer and thief and evildoer on the same level as a busybody. Now see, it would take the word to even do that, because none of us would consider any of those things. Go ahead.
Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify Elohim on this behalf.
Right, and this is the only time you're going to find this word in here, pretty much, which is a follower of Christ as the name that they gave, being this name of Christos. So, but this is the Messiah. And why would you suffer being a follower of the Messiah? Because they thought the Messiah was a cult leader. Same thing they're going to accuse you of when you go home. When when brothers start walking around with wife beaters on, with baby oil all on them, all slicked up, they fall, they might slide to the mailbox, you know, with all that oil. I used to do it too, you know. Then people want to look at you like, hey man, you know what? You must be in some kind of cult now, man. Why I don't never see you oiled up with your wife beat on? What's the problem? See, they want to know why you making me feel strange. Now you covering up now. They want to know what's the difference in you. See, it's the Mashiach in me that's different in me. Go ahead.
Verse 17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Elohim? And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear?
If the righteous be scarcely saved, yet they told you that there's nothing you can do to lose your salvation. See, this is what they told you on Sunday morning. You can do whatever you want, and still, as long as you said, God forgive me on your deathbed, you're going to wake up zip-tang in heaven. Yet this book says the absolute opposite of what they're saying. Go ahead.
Wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of Elohim commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing, as unto a faithful creator.
All right, let's go to our 1 Corinthians chapter 3. See, a lot of times people think that you have to go all in the Old Testament. You can tear up Sunday morning doctrine right here in the New Testament. And you're going to have to learn how to do it, because there are a whole lot of people that are not going to want to hear anything that you say out of the Old Testament. They have already been poisoned against the Old Testament. First Corinthians chapter 3, and let's start that at verse 1.
And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in the Mashiach. I have fed you with milk and not with meat, for hitherto you were not able to bear it, neither yet now are you able. For you are yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are you not carnal and walk as men? For while one says, I am of Saul, and another, I am of Apollos, are you not carnal? Who then is Saul, and who is Apollos, but ministers by whom you believed, even as the Adonai gave to every man?
Right. So the same thing that the people who have this click-based worship, they say, oh, I go to this camp. I go to this camp. When all of them are supposed to be various body parts of Yahshua the Mashiach. Yet people are fighting about which camp they go to. Well, this is what we do at our camp. Y'all need to be doing that. No, what I find that people of like spirits gather together. See them people who want to cuss people out on the corner? They go right to them purple people leaders. So they don't just go out and make them people cuss people out on the corner. They attract people who cuss people out on the corner. They want to be there. They can't wait to find something that they can go play battle script with. So they are attracted to that. Then that's where you need to be. That's why I don't try to recruit people from other congregations and never have. Because if that's the spirit you got, you need to be over there. And you can tell that that spirit don't fit, because as all of us are trying to do something, you'll find some old strange brother or sister out way over here in the left field. They trying to do something else. We talking about fasting, and they outside trying to set a fire for a barbecue. What the hell he doing? What he doing? What he doing? What he doing with them matches? What he doing? We're in the middle of fasting, and this cat going to get wood. What the hell he doing with that wood? What he doing with that wood? Next thing you know, he putting chicken on the grill. Hey, bro, what you doing? See, we got one spirit. We all on one walk, and here it is. He off on something else. You need to go back where you came from. See, the spirit that was given to this body has us all for the completion of certain jobs. And when some different spirit come that is trying to do something else, you trying to figure out what in the world is going on here. Right, that spirit's supposed to be somewhere else. Go ahead.
Verse 6. I have planted, Apollos watered, but Elohim gave the increase. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that waters, but Elohim that gives the increase. Now he that plants and he that waters are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. For we are laborers together with Elohim. You are Elohim's husbandry. You are Elohim's building. According to the grace of Elohim, which is given unto me, as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another builds thereon. But let every man take heed how he builds thereupon. For other foundations can no man lay than that is laid, which is Yahshua the Mashiach. Now if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire. And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is.
Right. Precious metals are not burned in the fire. Precious metals are refined in the fire. They are made better in the fire. They are purified in the fire. Wood, hay, and stubble just fuel the fire. So if you got wood and hay and stubble kind of works, all your work gonna be consumed. But if you got precious metal kind of works, then your works are gonna be purified in the fire. Go ahead.
Verse 14. If any man's work abide which he has built thereupon, he shall receive a reward.
If it abide the fire, if it still stands through the test of the fire. Go ahead.
If any man's work shall be burnt, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire.
Yet so as by fire. So we are tested in this fire, and we have to maintain. Go ahead.
Know you not that you are the temple of Elohim, and that the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you? If any man defile the temple of Elohim, him shall Elohim destroy. For the temple of Elohim is holy, which temple you are.
Right. And the adversary has given us everything possible for us to defile this temple of our Elohim, including that fast food. And pretty much everything that they make here. They put pork and stuff that ain't got no business having pork. You could be brushing your teeth with pork toothpaste. They just, like, what you put pork in the toothpaste for, man? That's just them. There's a whole lot of evil that we have to erase when we come out of here. That evil can't go into Yahweh's land. Even in how they process foods and things that they do that we don't even consider sin. It is completely sinful. We read in the beginning, it says, and the herb bearing seed, which bears seed of itself. The Gentiles said we own the seeds. How you gonna own Yahweh's seed? Them folks said, no, you can't plant no apple tree, brother. You got to talk to me. I'm Mr. Apple. When you become Mr. Apple? Man, that is evil for you to try to take Yahweh's creation and say that it's yours. Say that now you own all the apples because you have genetically modified the seed so that they won't keep making fruit. And every year, people got to come back to you to get the seed. The original thing produced seed of itself, and you just planted that seed and made more of it. So there's wickedness on all types of levels that we haven't even begun to uncover. Go ahead.
Verse 18. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seems to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise.
Right, because it's hard to teach people who think they already know. See, when you got somebody think they already know, you start talking, they be like, oh, I already know that right there. Before you even get to sentence number 4, they gone. Go ahead.
For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with Elohim. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Mm-hmm. And again, the Adonai knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. Therefore let no man glory in men, for all things are yours. Whether Saul or Apollos or Cephas or the world or life or death or things present or things to come, all are yours. And you are the Mashiachs, and the Mashiach is Elohim's.
Right. So understanding how this body is formed, you are the Mashiach, and the Mashiach is Elohim. So this whole clique-based thing that we end up dealing with is trials that we bring upon ourselves, not things that Yahweh has put upon us. Let's go to chapter 12.
1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. You know that you were Gentiles, carried away onto these dumb idols, even as you were led.
Right. And all they did was give us holidays, and now we keep the same dumb idols. See, they told us these are fun things. See, it's fun to keep Christmas and lie to your children and tell them that this fat white dude slid down the chimney and gave you all these gifts. But mama, we don't have no chimney. Well, he can slide through the keyhole. So we keep making up lies to tell our children so they can worship these dumb idols. Meanwhile, folk going in debt trying to buy all these gifts and tell them that some fat white dude came in the house and gave it to him. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Wherefore I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of Elohim calleth Yahshua accursed, and that no man can say that Yahshua is the Adonai, but by the Holy Ghost. Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations, but the same Adonai. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same Elohim which works all in all.
Right. So then there are different gifts that are brought to the congregation for the perfection of that particular part of the body of the Mashiach. So the jobs that we are given, that we are to do, there are people brought to the congregation to fulfill that need, whether they know it or not. Go ahead.
But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another divers kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues.
Right. See, to one, diverse kinds of tongues, being able to speak in other languages, not that goo gobbledygoo that they're telling you that they speaking, telling you they speaking in tongues. To another, the interpretation of languages. This then gives the ability to go and speak the wonderful words of Yahweh to other nations. Why would Yahweh give? You have to consider, what these Kung Fu brothers teach on the corner, that nobody else can attain unto their salvation. What would be the gift of being able to speak in another language for, if other nations can't grab a hold of Yahweh's word? Why would you have the gift of speaking in Russian if a Russian couldn't join onto Yahweh's word? What would be the gift of being able to speak in all these different languages if they couldn't grab a hold of it? I told you, you can go in this New Testament and beat up the doctrine that people out here teaching. From the Sunday morning televangelist to the corner yelling Kung Fu Africa Bambaataa looking brother. You can tap all that doctrine. You ain't got to go all around this book. You ain't got to go. You can eat them up right here in this New Testament. Stop thinking you got to go all around the book. People trying to make you go all around the book to make you think that you got to go. You can stay right in here in the very parts that they're reading. Half the time, they're trying to give you some kind of different thought process, because they'll read one part out of Corinthians and your answer will be in the same book. But they need to make you think, well, I already went in that book, so you don't go in that. No. Just go three verses down. I'm finna tear that lie up. I'm finna tear it up. Just keep reading. Don't stop. Because we listened to the brother do the thing about the Sabbath day. And he stopped right at that point that you wouldn't hear, which is a shadow of things to come. Go ahead.
Verse 11. But all these works that one and the self-same Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. For as the body is one, and has many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is the Mashiach. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Yehudis or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. For the body is not one member, but many. If the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now has Elohim set the members, every one of them, in the body, as it has pleased him. And if they were all one member, where were the body? But now are there many members, yet one body.
Now there are many members, yet, but one body. See, this is that thing when you read the letters to the 7 churches, it begins addressed to the angel at the church of so-and-so. There was also an angel that was appointed to lead the congregation in the wilderness. You find that even though they were these different people, they were led by that one spirit. That one spirit is leading in a certain manner. And if you do anything to run that spirit off, you then have a issue there that then affects the whole body. See, when the brother ended up stealing the cursed thing, he didn't just affect his family or his tribe. It affected the entire body. See, that's what a disease means. There's dis-ease in the body. And that one part then affects other parts. When you got a bad foot, eventually you're gonna have a sore calf and a sore hamstring and a sore thigh, because the rest of the body then tries to overcompensate for the one part that is not doing its job. And the same thing happened within the body of the Mashiach. Go ahead.
And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. No, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary. And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor, and our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness.
Right. So then we see that a schism then is caused in the body when one member will not perform the function for which it was designed. We have that very same thing within the body of the Mashiach. When a person say, I will not perform, or I will not do that with what I was called to do, we have our own personal gifts. But those personal gifts are meant for the addition to the congregation to grow. When we look at the things that Moshe ended up going through, Yahweh ended up telling Moshe to build this, to build that, to build this. Moshe didn't know how to do none of that. He was a servant of Yahweh. He went and talked face to face with Yahweh. But he didn't know how to sew. He didn't know how to work iron. Then Yahweh put the spirit of craftsmanship into various men and women. Some women sewing this and they spinning the thread and they making these things. They were given the ability to do those things. Then that was then brought to Moshe, and then they used that to build the things that needed to be made. It wasn't the one person. Moshe was not the question and the answer. He was not given everything. The rest of the people in the body were to perform various functions. Without their offerings, without their certain gifts, it would not have been able to be completed. And it's the same then as it is now. Go ahead.
Verse 24, for our comely parts have no need, but Elohim has tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to that part which lacked, that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. And whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it. Or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it.
Right. You can't say, you know what, I think I got a heart problem. So I'm going to send my heart to the doctor. Well, you going to have to go with it. What you going to do, take it out and send it to the doctor? What do you think, you can FedEx a part of your body down there? Yeah, just ship this down there and let me know what happened with it. No, you got to go with it. Go ahead.
Now you are the body of the Mashiach, and members in particular. And Elohim have set some in the church, apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversity of tongues.
Right. Diversities of tongues. These are gifts. Yet you got people out here teaching on Sunday morning that they can teach you how to speak in tongues. How you going to teach a spiritual gift? If you can teach the gift, that means you're in charge of the spirit. That is blasphemy. Go ahead.
Have all gifts of have all gifts of healing. Verse 29. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way.
Right. Let's go to Mark chapter 11. Mark 11, and we're going to start that at verse 11. Mark 11 and verse 11. And we're going to read it verses 11 through 21.
Verse 11. And Yahshua entered into Jerusalem and into the temple. And when he had looked round about upon all the things, and now the eventide was come, he went out unto Bethany with the 12. And on the morrow, when they were come from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing a fig tree afar off having leaves, he came, if happily he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet.
Consider this. He found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet. Go ahead.
And Yahshua answered and said unto it, No man eat fruit of you hereafter forever. And his disciples heard it.
Now, it was not time for the figs. But he cursed it. Cause see, we get set in our ways, and we get set in certain time frames and certain things, and we think, well, you know what? I got time to do such and such. This fig tree was not profitable when the Messiah was near. Understand, you that fig tree. And you don't know what day Yahshua is going to come and require of you. All right, set your works before me. Well, you know what? I was going to do something, but see what had happened was, we already, anytime you got an excuse, rather than anything to present before the Mashiach, you got some problem. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And they came to Jerusalem, and Yahshua went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves.
Do understanding now, as far as things go, he does not have authority to do this. You need to consider this is spiritual authority, but not man authority. So the Pharisees are the ones who are, in control. They're the ones that are, connected with the power structure, and he's going and doing all of these things, and he's not one of those people among the power structure. So this is a very, very shaky thing to be doing. Go ahead.
And would not suffer that any man should carry any vessel through the temple.
Right. So all y'all trying to work, he knows. See, people take this and take it out of context. He wouldn't let them carry anything through the temple. No, man, carry stuff that he know they finna go and work with. See, it's one thing that you going to take things to go and do worship with, but you taking stuff that you gonna have to be doing. Why would a brother walk in with his tool bag? Hey man, what you finna do with them tools? Man, get that out of here. See, doing that, cutting off the occasion for your brother to go sin. You see him walking in with stuff, knowing that he about to do some work. Why you let him keep walking in with it? Go ahead.
Verse 17. And he taught, saying unto them, Is it not written, My house shall be called of all nations the house of prayer? But you have made it a den of thieves.
That's why they got ATMs in the lobby. This is why they talk about tithing every other sermon, while telling you the law is nailed to the cross Yet you have to hear an offering sermon every other week. It has been turned into a den of thieves. Go ahead.
And the scribes and chief priests heard it and sought how they might destroy him.
You see that?
For
He was not one in the power structure, and the chief priest said, we're going to have to do something to him. See, he coming in here trying to actually keep what's written in this book, and he messing up our money. Go ahead.
For they feared him, because all the people was astonished at his doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
And when even was come, he went out of the city. And in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. And Cephas, calling to the remembrance, says unto him, Master, behold, the fig tree which you cursed is withered away.
Right. Being that it was not able to produce fruit for his master, it was of no more use. Let's go to Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12, and let's read verses 37 through 53.
Verse 37. Blessed are those servants whom the Adonai, when he comes, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself, and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them.
Blessed are those servants whom the Adonai, when he comes, shall find watching. So when he comes and he finds them doing the labor that the servants are supposed to do, they shall not be ashamed at his coming. See, people not ashamed when the boss show up if they did what they were supposed to do. People are ashamed when the boss show up and they ain't done none of the stuff that they supposed to do. Now they got hit. Now here come them excuses now. Go ahead.
And if he shall come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. And this know, that if the goodman of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched, and not have suffered his house to be broken through.
Mm-hmm.
Be you therefore ready also, for the Son of Man comes in an hour when you think not.
Right. So you got a lot of people that said, well, I got a lot of time, to get myself together, So I got a little time before the Mashiach arrive. So I'm going to keep on partying, And, right when I see him at the door, then I'm going to hurry up and get myself together. So I'm gonna put this dress on, but it's going to be a snatch away dress with the thong still on it. So I can, right when the Mashiach comes, I can throw this on right before he see the thong. You know what I'm saying? All right. Go ahead.
Verse 41. Then Cephas said unto him, Adonai, speak you this parable unto us, or even to all? And the Adonai said, Who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his master shall make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Adonai, when he comes, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he has. But and if that servant say in his heart, My master delays his coming, and shall begin to beat the manservants and maidens, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken.
Right. How they beat you now is they beat you down with their words. They have all kind of indignation to speak against you while you are doing this labor for the Mashiach, because they think they got much more time. Go ahead.
The master of that servant will come in a day when he looks not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in asunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers.
I tell people, you can understand the day that the Spirit showed up at your house when you come and sit down in holy convocation, and you done got off into something that week, and then all of a sudden it come out in the middle of class, but you ain't talk to nobody. Then you start looking strange. You talk to Esaac. Hey, I didn't ask you a question. Just tell me the truth straight up. Did you talk to Esaac? Ain't nobody talk to me. Who you talking about? Then I got, folk, when I come down one end of the hall, they take off running to the other. I don't even know what you're running for. Ain't like the Spirit told me nothing. Spirit just directed me. Read this right here. Now, Spirit be laughing. Read this right here. Read it right here. I don't know why you took off running. And I ain't got time to be chasing you either. Hey, look, I'm going to keep reading. But you know the day the Spirit showed up at your house because you heard what was read and you know you ain't told nobody. Go ahead.
Luke chapter 12 and verse 47. And that servant which knew his master's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes.
Right, because you knew and did not do what you were supposed to do, you shall be beaten with many stripes. My elder used to say, it's people that been in this word for several years, and you the same person that you were when you came in the door. Oh, you're going to be beaten with many stripes. Because there's certain things that he expects of you after a while. There's something wrong if you're still the same person that you were before. There's something really wrong with that. My old friends ain't comfortable around me. They try to hang, but their word just run them right out the door. And they be confused. They're like, man, I like being with you, but then I don't. Because man, we have a good time, but then you be, that Bible be cutting me. So I just had to leave. Good. That's where you need to be. Go ahead.
But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes.
Not that he won't be beaten. This is why people think they can stay stupid and think that they're going to be protected under the veil of ignorance. Well, don't tell me. I don't want to know it. Don't tell me. That way I won't be beaten. See? No, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. That ain't work. That's why when you go home, you start trying to talk to family members. No, child. Don't tell me. No. His grace is sufficient. No. Right. Keep thinking that. Go ahead.
For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required.
Right.
And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. I am come to send fire unto the earth, and what will I, if it be already kindled? But I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how am I straitened till it be accomplished?
Right. This baptism of fire, this baptism of water has already been accomplished. He's got another baptism, this baptism of trial by fire. And we are not greater than our master. We will go through the same things. But we are not in a position where we have to offer up our physical body. We are not in a position where we have to offer up our carnal sacrifices. Our sacrifices are spiritual in nature. Go ahead.
Suppose you that I come to give peace on earth. I tell you, no, but rather division.
Now, obviously, they ain't read this on Sunday morning. Because they say he is love and he just as sweet as diabetes. He's so, oh my God, he just love you to Reese's Pieces. I mean, he love everybody. And people ain't come to church to hear what they've been doing wrong. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear nice stuff. All you got to do is go to church tomorrow and they'll tell you all nice things you want to hear. And you ain't never going to change. And you're going to be like gas when you hit that lake of fire. It's going to be a big puff ball of smoke when you hit it. Because they're going to make you feel good the whole road to the lake of fire. You're going to be feeling good all the way. Just like the sheep going to the shears is dumb, not knowing I'm about to be hairless. They about to cut off all my stuff soon as I get there. But the dumb sheep just go around. Now, no, you know they finna cut your head off, right? You finna be dinner. And just keep on walking. It don't know no better. That's how they want you Sunday morning. Just happy and emptying out your checkbook. Just keep on. Just keep on. Right. Everything funny. Until that day you realize you dinner. Go ahead.
Verse 52. For from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3.
People said, see, there's something wrong with your gospel. See, y'all got division in your house. See, there's something wrong. No, it's one part of the house trying to save the other part of the house. See, you can be gathered together and unified in devil worship. And then people say, well, look how much peace we got in this house. That's because all y'all worship the devil. Ain't nobody trying to save nobody. But you have division in the house when somebody trying to save the other people. Well, then now I'm going to have to do the work of three because these won't do what they supposed to do. See, people try to tell you, you got division in your house. Something wrong with your house. Now, something wrong if all these people not walking in one accord, then somebody have to walk for other people. Now, if we in the word, we shouldn't have to have division in our house because we all supposed to be walking according to the same thing. But we know that some people in the word and some people just around the word. They just hang out, you know. They was around on the Sabbath day, but they ain't really in there. So when it come down to implementation, they can't implement none of it. It end up being just like when they asked about the sermons when you went to church on Sunday. What was the sermon about? Where he had it was something about a fire. Right. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 53. The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
So we have these things. He didn't say that he was coming to bring forth peace. He said, I'm going to cause division. And that's what the truth of this word does. When you consider the parable of the virgins, he delayed his coming on purpose in order to weed out the non-believers. There are 10 virgins that are headed to this marriage. 5 wise and 5 foolish. Now, in the daylight, all the virgins look alike. They all got lamps. They all look like they're ready. So he purposely delays his coming into the middle of the night. And what does that do? It exposed the virgins who don't have no oil in their lamps. Oil is a symbol of the spirit. So they don't have no spirit, but they virgins. But they look like the rest of them. But it is not manifested who they truly are until darkness is presented. See, there's a whole lot of people that look like your friends until you go through something. Go through something, you're gonna find out. You got a few fair weather friends. They friends as long as it's sunny. It can't be too hot, can't be 90 degrees, maybe about 75, 80. You know what I'm saying? A nice northwesterly breeze. You know what I'm saying? Everything is working good, then they're your friend. As soon as something go wrong, all of a sudden, they phone died. Man, I need such and such and such and such. I got, you know what? This phone is breaking up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? They start balling up paper. Every time you call back, the phone off now. Phone don't come back on till 3 days later. What happened? Boy, you had a 3-day outage? What happened? Right, they fair weather. So here it is. You see, it is verified in this that the Mashiach delays his coming for a time when you think not, to see if you are truly a servant of his and not just a daytime pretender. See, a servant is also a servant in the nighttime because they are prepared with oil for their lamp when it gets dark. Do you have spirit for the time of darkness? Or are you a daytime Hebrew Israelite? Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 3. Second Corinthians chapter 3, and let's start that at verse 1.
Do we begin again to commend ourselves? Or need we, as some others, epistles of commendation to you, or letters of commendation from you? You are our epistle written in our hearts, known and read of all men. For as much as you are manifestly declared to be the epistle of the Mashiach, ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living Elohim, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart.
Right. So you have people that tell you, hey, you need to wear fringe everywhere you go so you can be reminded to keep the law. If that law is not written in your heart, ain't no fringe gonna help you. Which the law was supposed to be written in our hearts, even in the old days. They had to wear the fringe because it wasn't written in their heart. Go ahead.
And such trust have we through the Mashiach, the Elohim word. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything as of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of Elohim, who also has made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit.
Not in the letter of the law, but of the spirit of the law. And when we read the things that the Mashiach wrote, the spirit of the law makes some things easier, but then it makes other things more difficult. See, it said that in old times in the law written in stone, a brother was a transgressor if he murdered his brother. But then Yahshua say, I say, if you are angry with your brother without a cause, you have murdered your brother. So there's certain aspects of the spiritual part of the law that is more difficult than it was before. That's the part that people not teaching though. Go ahead.
For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. But if the ministration of death, written and engraved in stones, was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moshe for the glory of his countenance, which glory was to be done away, how shall not the ministration of the Spirit be rather glorious? For if the ministration of commendation be glory, much more does the ministration of righteousness exceed in glory. For even that which was made glorious had no glory in this respect, by reason of the glory that excelleth. For if that which is done away was glorious, much more that which remains is glorious. Seeing then that we have such hope, we use great plainness of speech, and not as Moshe, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished. But their minds were blinded.
Their minds were blinded. Go ahead.
For until this day remains the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in the Mashiach.
Now, listen, the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament. Now, these are things that are written in the New Testament, talking about the veil is still over them when they read the Old Testament. Keep reading.
But even unto this day, when Moshe is read, the veil is upon their heart.
Right. So the veil is still upon their heart to this day when Moshe is read, because they have already taught poisonous to the law of Yahweh. So they are poisoned to it. The veil is upon their heart, so they can't see the spirit of the law. They can't see it when Moshe is read. Now, here it is. This is the New Testament, yet they're still talking about reading Moshe, which is the law. The people done told us that we don't have to deal with it no more. You see, I told you you can go right in here in this New Testament and tear up that stuff that they teach on Sunday. Believe you me, more Christian pastors watch me than you would ever believe. Because they got to figure out how they're going to deal with this stuff. They got to figure out how we're going to prepare, because we don't know how many of our folks, listening to this dude or listening to other people like him. So we got to start preparing for this. But they did the same thing to my elder. All the televangelists around the town, the big televangelists, they all knew my teacher. They all watched him. We can listen to their teachings and we laugh knowing that they're answering us. Trying to get certain parts of the teaching and twist it so the people will believe, okay, yeah. That we done heard that before. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Nevertheless, when it shall turn to the Adonai, the veil shall be taken away.
So if they're not adequately dealing with the Mashiach, that veil is still over their eyes. That's why when you go and talk to some people who've been going to church for 20 and 30 years, they can't hear you. That veil is still before their face. Go ahead.
Now the Adonai is that spirit, and where the spirit of the Adonai is, there is liberty. But we all, with open face, bold, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Adonai, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the spirit of the Adonai.
All right, let's go to chapter 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 13.
First Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal.
If though I speak with the tongues of men, I can speak with many languages and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. In other words, you ain't doing nothing but making noise. Go ahead.
And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith.
And people say, you got faith? Yeah, they say faith is going to take care of everything. Go ahead.
So that I could remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing.
I am nothing. Even though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries, I can go in this book and I can do all of these things, but love missing. Go ahead.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profits me nothing.
Remember the brother that talked to the Mashiach? All these things I've done from my youth up. What lacketh I yet? Keep reading.
Love suffers long, and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up.
Right, and people quick to tell you how much they love you. Oh, I love you. I love you. And they doing everything that this book say love don't do. Love don't puff itself up. It's not vaunts not. All this stuff, they quick to tell you. I love you. Go ahead.
Does not behave itself unseemly. Seek not her own. Is not easily provoked. Thinks no evil.
Love is not easily provoked. Go ahead.
Rejoiceth not in lawlessness, but rejoiceth in the truth.
Love rejoices in things done truthfully. Go ahead.
Beareth all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
When you get to certain parts of this word that people don't like, I don't believe that. Wait a minute now. I thought you said you was a believer. What happened? What happened? So you was a believer on verse 10, but you not a believer in verse 12. Go ahead.
Love never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abides faith, hope, love. These three, but the greatest of these is love.
Right. And we have all of these things, and we hear all of these things from people. But when it comes down to exercising this love, there is a lot of growth that we have to be able to do this. You know, it is said by the Mashiach, There's something wrong if you salute your brethren only. I remember that when our elder passed away, and we started going through all of these things with various teachers, there was brothers and sisters who we went through a lot of things with, but then a new leader came upon the scene and basically told the people if we all didn't believe and dealt with things the way they did, then they were not allowed to speak to us. We got certain brothers that we grew up with, that some of us who started this organization together, it's some of those that we hadn't talked to in about 7 to 8 years, because somebody told them that they wasn't allowed to speak to us. Because it came down to this book, and of course, you know, I'm chief number one off the talking list. It got down to this book, and we was in Holy Convocation one day, and one of the teachers started saying some stuff that wasn't right, and actually he said about 5 or 6 things that wasn't right. I tried to bite my tongue on every last one of them, and then one of them just got too much, and I had to say something. I had about 7 or 8 of the brothers that we grew up with in this word all came against me, all vocally, on the Sabbath day. But see, sometimes Yahweh puts you in a situation. Are you going to do the job that he called you to do? And that was a very difficult thing for me to do at that point, to have the elder priest and 7, 8 of the same brothers who said they love me come at me all at the same time. But because I did the job that I was called to do there, that's why I was called to do this job here. So see, sometimes you don't understand why Yahweh does what he does. And to this day, there's some of those brothers that we still have not spoken to. But you have to really ask yourself, what could make you turn away from the word so deep that you would allow some other man to tell you who you can and cannot speak to, because they don't follow the brand of doctrine that you follow? Now, it took some of those brothers to move out of town, sell all of their belongings, because this guy told them to. Then, once he introduced himself as the comforter, then, you know, now 7, 8 years later, now we starting to talk to a few of them now. I told you 8 years ago he was a kook. You had to wait till somebody asked you to sell all your belongings and for him to tell you that he was the electric blanket, the pillowcase, the comforter. Now you want to talk? Now you want to talk 8 years later? We told you this long time ago. But see, the word already says, if you salute your brethren only, meaning you only salute the people who you go to church with. Man, I speak to white people, Chinese people, Indian people. We don't teach any of that separatism when it comes down to dealing with things like that. Now, I may talk to you and I'm going to be cordial with you, but I'm not going to worship your God. See? You're not going to find me hanging out with Vishnu and all that. I'm not going to be doing that. But we can sit down and have a conversation. But I'm not going to worship your God. But what that got to do with saluting you? What that have to do with speaking to you? See, we have to learn to be directed by what is written here, not in just the things that come out of man's mouth. If the thing that come out of man's mouth don't coincide with what's written in this book, there's a problem. This is why we have open Bible study, so that if you have questions, then you can either email or you can ask those questions. That's why we have that. So if you got a question, then you present that question. Well, here, this says this in the book, but I noticed you said that. Can you explain these? That's what that's for. So let us consider those things. At least we get called to the table of Yahshua and have to explain some of our actions, and we don't have anything to say. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.